Dorgesh-Kaan, the city of the cave goblins, and home to the plucky adventurer Zanik. Dorgesh-Kaan is an expansive city with luxuries and technology that, prior to the 6th Age, was almost unheard of. Nowadays, though, there's little to see or do in this wide city, with everything around it being power-crept. And ironically, what was once a more modernized city compared to Varrock or Falador has been left to history. So let's see if we can't try to revive this city and bring life back to the cave goblins. What's up, everyone? This is Destroyer 229, and welcome to the Hotspot. On today's episode, we'll be taking a look at Dorgesh-Kaan and try to bring some foot traffic back into this underground city. The cave goblins haven't been quite as neglected as some other areas we'll eventually get to, but Dorgesh-Kaan has never really been the center of attention. It's mostly been Zanik that leads any narrative line with the cave goblins, with Uldak taking a complementary role with invention. So today, we'll try to focus more on the narrative side that shows what's been happening in Dorgesh-Kaan since our adventures with Zanik. We'll go over this in 3 parts. First, we'll go over what's available in Dorgesh-Kaan and why there's little reason to go there now. Second, we'll go over a new D&D to get people to check out what's there. And third, we'll workshop a new quest that focuses more on exploring the city and tying up a loose thread on a 6th Age group. So let's see what lies in the darkness. Dorgesh-Kaan was released on March 20th, 2007, as a reward for finishing the quest, Death to the Dorgeshan. This city is home to the Dorgeshan tribe, a goblin tribe that did not want to fight for Bandos during the God Wars, and hid underground to avoid him and the wars above. For things to do in the city, there's the Dorgesh-Kaan Market, where you can sell various foods from Gillinor's surface to various gourmets by the marketplace. There's a high-level agility course at the southern end of the city, a small Slayer dungeon with an exclusive Slayer monster, the Mollusk. There's also loads of chests throughout the city to practice thieving on, along with pickpocketing the cave goblins throughout the city and stealing wires from the wire machine. There's also Barlak, who will buy long and curved bones, along with snail shells and tortoise shells off the player and offer a small amount of construction XP. Then there's Uldak, who will sell you teleport spheres and has an invention workbench for you to use. Finally, there's a train station, available after another slice of ham, that can transport the player between Dorgesh-Kaan and Keldagrim. Unfortunately, nothing provided has been relevant for a long time now. The marketplace is unnecessary with the Grand Exchange and far more time-consuming than what the prices are worth. The agility course has been greatly outpaced with Het's Oasis and Anachronia. Mollusks are some of the most forgettable Slayer monsters in the game, and have no uniques to try to grind for. The chests take a long time to respawn, and there are other, much more efficient ways to train the skill. Barlak's money and XP are no longer relevant, thanks to bonus XP in general, as well as Fort 4 and 3. Invention workbenches outside the Invention Guild are hardly used. And the train station, while nice, goes to a city that we will be discussing next week, which should tell you how bustling Keldagrim is. The quest department is also very light when it comes to the city. It is never needed to visit Dorgesh-Kaan for any quest outside that series. The only exception to that is the Mighty Falls, which starts and ends in Dorgesh-Kaan, which, while the city is used quite a bit for the beginning of the quest itself is just an epilogue to the Cave Goblin series, and so one can argue that it still has no relevance outside of Zanik's journey. The only reason someone now would really visit Dorgesh-Kaan is if they're doing a clue scroll that takes them there. There is no reason to stay in the city, which is a shame because Dorgesh-Kaan is honestly a really fun city to explore, especially back when it was released. So now that we looked at what the city currently has, let's look at ways to bring more people back here. So what sort of skilling event could we add to Dorgesh-Kaan to get people to visit? Well, beyond Zanik's storyline, the only thing the cave goblins have been involved with is having a skill tree in invention. So let's try to lean into that a little bit more. Rather than be a full-blown training method, this is planned to be a daily distraction and diversion. To start, talk to Uldak in his lab. He'll mention that he's been working on trying to convert less desirable materials into more useful ones for his experiments, and has put the final touches on his new invention, the component alchemizer. The machine itself is a little unstable, and he could use some help in keeping it together. In exchange, Uldak will allow you to use the component alchemizer for your own purposes. Essentially, once per day, you can deposit junk, common, and uncommon materials into the machine, and after a little maintenance minigame where you need to keep the machine running, you will get 1 to 5 uncommon or rare materials, with the quantity depending on how well you maintain the machine. You will always need to have a certain amount of junk, let's just say 20,000, to run the machine. Afterwards, you will have 12 spots to put in either 100 common or 10 uncommon/rare materials. Putting in all common materials will always result in an uncommon product, and putting all of the uncommon or rare materials will always result in a rare product, with a combination of the two having a chance to be one or the other, with more weight going to whether you put in more common or uncommon materials. So, for example, let's say that out of the 12 slots, 10 of those slots are filled with uncommon materials and 2 of those slots are filled with common materials. This means that it will be very likely that you will get a rare material out of the deal, but it would technically be possible to get an uncommon material. The reason for doing this would be for players to gamble on trying to get rare or desirable materials like Noxious or Ilujankin, while getting rid of materials they may have plenty of, like Staved or Nightly. So if players don't want to spend millions of GP on getting those materials, they can elect to take a chance while getting rid of materials they don't need. You can also gain some crafting, smithing, and divination XP for maintaining the machine, but this is more of a side benefit to the material exchange. Maybe you'd get between 15 to 20k for each skill, or maybe 15 to 20 in a selected skill, though this can be adjusted if need be for balance sake. And since it is a D&D, players can have another go at this if they use up a daily D&D token. So there's our skilling update to try to liven up Uldak's place, but I did say that I wanted to focus on the narrative side. So let's shift our focus on an often forgotten group. So rather than just spitballing ideas for a story, this time I'm going to draft up an outline for a quest that will give Dorgesh-Kaan a little more prominence. This won't be as fully detailed as A Child in Need was, but I will provide enough details to get the general gist of the idea for the quest. I also imagine this being a standalone quest, simply to tie up a loose end on one of the many plot threads introduced with the 6th Age narrative. We'll also use this as an opportunity to give Invention its first quest to be involved in. Oddly enough, Invention is never required to complete any quest, likely due to how intensive it is to even unlock an elite skill. The only thing you may need Invention for is Sins of the Father, but you could use crafting, smithing, or rune crafting instead of Invention. Hell, 2 of those skills are needed to be level 80 anyway to even unlock Invention, so you never really need it for anything. But I think enough time has passed that I think we can reasonably add it to a potential quest requirement, especially since we have up to level 95 for one skill, Necromancy. For an idea for requirements, let's say that you will need 40 invention to begin this quest, along with 1 piercing note, mostly for the theme of investigation and evidence gathering, as well as a potential scene for later, and Death to the Dorgesh-Kaan to get access to the city. We'll also add new foundations, not only for the introduction of the quest, but also to squarely put this as part of the Age of Chaos. I am tempted to add the Mighty Fall or Nomad's Elegy to these requirements as well, but we could also just make those a recommendation, just so we have the full context of Dorgesh-Kaan and more specifically, Zanik's story. So, our quest begins not in Dorgesh-Kaan, but at Fort 4 and 3, where there's been an attack on the chapel. Talking to Father Flint will reveal that someone has vandalized the chapel, and while he was going to clean it up, you will elect to investigate who attacked, fearing a possible incursion from the wilderness. After investigating, you discover what looks like a Hammertron among some smashed up pews. You will then get a message from Aster that King Roald sent a request specifically to you. Upon seeing the king, he will mention that the church in East Farok has been the target of arson and wants you to investigate it. Upon examining the church, you will find a modified pyromatic that was left behind. Now this cycle will continue upon investigating areas and finding invention items, from the Chaos Altar just outside Goblin Village, to the Druidic Altar in Taverley, to the St. Elspeth Abbey, to Armadel's Tower. Each location has 2 repeating elements. They are related to gods, or the worship of gods, and an invention item was left behind at the scene of the crime. At some point in your investigation, you'll be prompted to talk to Doc, but he'll say that the guild has been quite active in recent years, and more people swing by every day, so trying to narrow down suspects will be a difficult task. You will eventually find a key clue, the remains of a moving over distance sphere that's still mostly intact. You will then want to talk to Oldak, and ask if he has seen anyone using invention tools. He and Grubfoot will tell you that they have, and that recent surface dwellers have come to Dorgesh-Kaan over several years now. They'll tell you that they generally wear odd clothes, even for surface dwellers, and they have a name that they call themselves: the Godless. If you ask where they are, they will reply that they don't know, but people in the city may have seen where they go to. You'll then need to talk to various NPCs around Dorgesh-Kaan to gather clues, which helps in showing players the updated look that would accompany this quest. Eventually, you will get a clue that they are somewhere in the cave system to the south of the city. When you investigate, you'll find a crevice, and after crawling through, you'll be attacked by Holstein, who's standing guard. You'll have to fight him, even if you're aligned with the Godless, which could come with some humorous alternative dialogue. Defeat him, and before you deliver a final blow, you will be stopped by Bine, the founder of the Godless. Bine will talk to you about what has been happening with the Godless since Sliske's game. Some things he'll mention is that they decided to set up base near Dorgesh-Kaan, as the cave goblins were very receptive to their ambitions. He'll also mention that they've been developing on the recent discoveries with divine magic, and are able to use those talents and tools to assist in the Battle of Sentistan. However, once the Elder Gods were gone, and the gods were banished again, the Godless had developed a schism. Karamir was not content with just letting the gods go. She wants to remove all worship entirely from Gielinor. Her, along with Ux and Fossil, lead this faction, and have been the ones responsible for the recent attacks that you've been investigating, using the same tools that they used against the Elder Gods. Meanwhile, Bine and Garlandia were more of the mind to work diplomatically to help separate worship of the gods with the ruling powers, and try to sway people with words to step away from the gods. You'll then be guided by Bind to their main chamber, where Karamir is trying to sway the remaining godless to take up arms against the remaining religious sites. When she sees you, she'll first be receptive to you as you were directly responsible for banishing the gods. However, it will become very clear that you do not support her, and she'll be quick to anger on how you've done so much, and yet are still so blind to the danger of the gods. You'll then fight Ux, but Karamir will stop you before you kill him, as Ux's physical body is present on Gielinor, and will not regenerate since it is no longer bound to Infernus. Karamir will be frustrated that you all just don't see the danger that she sees. Before any more fighting breaks out though, Zanik shows up and tells Karamir that enough is enough, and that they've already won. Karamir will threaten to kill Zanik, but she'll tell Karamir to just go ahead and do it. She's already died twice and knows what awaits her on the other side. She'll be glad to finally have a chance to rest. Infuriated, Karamir walks away, taking her supporters with her. Bind and Garlandia will thank the two of you for intervening. When you ask Zanik how she got there, she'll say that she's been feeling homesick between needing to be at Soul Wars and the Warforged dig site. But when she got back, Oldak informed her of what was going on. Garlandia will tell you that she will inform the authorities of what transpired, and to be on the lookout for Karamir and her followers should they turn up again. Bind will also say that as of today, the Godless are disbanded, but he tells his remaining followers to not give up on their ideals, and to continue to spread their message as individuals rather than as an organization. They'll once again thank you for your help, and... Congratulations! Quest complete! So, why exactly did I want to make this into a godless faction quest? Well, part of this idea stems from combining the already existing nature of the Cave Goblin tech tree to a scrapped storyline from Invention's development. According to ModMark, the Godless were planned to be heavily involved with the Invention skill, as a means of developing a defense against the gods. However, this story idea was scrapped, and not long after that, a lot of the Godless's development also halted. I wanted to try to combine these ideas together to give the Godless a resounding send-off, while also finally introducing several key figures that were never put into the game. Bine, Ux, and Fossil, while mentioned, have never appeared in-game. And honestly, the only member of the Godless that has seen any use post-Liskay's endgame has been Garlandia. So I want to try to give the Godless some screen time, even if it was to finally close their involvement. I also wanted to see if I could introduce another group of potential future antagonists. I think a lot of people are kind of tired of it always being a Majoret or a Dragonkin, so having a recurring threat be of a separate group, especially a group of different races, could be interesting for future quest development. Or we could just leave them to the wayside and just say that they were never heard from again. So it leaves a potential avenue for antagonists or just using characters in general if Jagex wanted to. And since I wanted to add an invention activity to this refresh, all of these ideas just meshed together to create this quest outline. And unlike the Yanil story ideas, this one is at least intended for you to explore around Dorgesh-Kaan itself in order to find clues on the Godless's hideout, making the city itself feel more involved within the quest. I also didn't want to kill off any of these characters, as Karamir's forces could be an interesting antagonistic role that isn't Majoret or Dragonkin related. So while the Godless themselves may be gone, it could open a new avenue of antagonists for us to confront from time to time. Finally, I'm still not entirely sure if I really wanted to bring Zanik in at the very end. It's not that I don't like Zanik, in fact far from it, she is my favorite character in the entire game. But I really wanted to try to have a Dorgesh-Kaan idea that wasn't explicitly about Zanik. The problem was, she's officially a member of the Godless, so having a quest that features both Godless and Dorgesh-Kaan and not bringing Zanik in just didn't feel right to me. But at least she isn't the cause of the problem this time, like in the Mighty Falls. The quest rewards also aren't something that I've really thought about for this. This is mostly just an outline on the quest itself and not what you can gain from it. So if you have any ideas for potential quest rewards, I'm all ears. And so those are my ideas on a Dorgesh-Kaan refresh. What do you think? Do you have any ideas on expanding the component alchemizer? Do you have any suggestions on how to further develop this quest? Do you have a reward space to add at the end of it? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you all in the next video. So, until next time everyone, take care.